On September 21st, that Friday night, the fire marshal came in at 9 o'clock, found me, said, turn the lights all on, turn the music off, get everybody out of here. And I'm thinking, what did I do wrong? And he said, you violated your occupancy permit. And so I'm irritated because if you're in the bar business, Friday nights you gotta have. And I was really frustrated, but it was the best advertising in the world because Thursday night you couldn't even park around our place, and we were bonkers. So in our first year, we thought we were rich. We made $65,000. I can never remember a time in American business. Now, the whole war thing overshadows a lot right now. I'm sorry about that. But take that out of the picture. I don't ever remember a time where there was more opportunities for a young person. I had a kid come to me and he said, I don't want to work in your car business. I want to work by myself. But I need a job and I want to work. And I said, well, you got to work with people. That's how it goes.
We'd like to welcome our guest of honor today. For those of you that are new to this is called the Local Legends Podcast. The Venture Project and the Oshkosh Chamber of Commerce put this together to feature notable local business leaders, entrepreneurs that have some really interesting stories and value to deliver to our community. And what better example we have today than Mr. John Bergstrom, who's an entrepreneur, business leader, philanthropist right here in the Fox Valley area. So without any further ado, welcome to the show. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's fun to be here.
Yeah. Well, sir, bring us back, to where your childhood story kind of started and where it all started for you. I know I'm a former Nina guy. I know there's some enemies out there here from the Oshkosh West and Oshkosh North crew, but your name comes up a lot, ever since I was a kid, and I just kind of want to know where it started with you.
Well, it comes up a lot because I borrow money from all of the banks. Okay? Go back to the beginning. What are the roots? I was born in Oshkosh, about 5 blocks from here at the old hospital on Menominee Park. And my mom was an Oshkosh gal. And for a long time, we've had a business here. We owned the Pioneer Inn, Marina, and hotel. That was an interesting experience. So a lot of Oshkosh roots.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about kind of those early years, what you learned about business, when the business world kind of bit you, if you will.
Okay. First off, it's fun to be here. And I appreciate everything that the Chamber does in Oshkosh and all the communities, representing the business community, kind of giving us a voice. So we appreciate that. Secondly, for anybody to take an hour out of their life to come and listen to me, I can tell you my wife would say that was an hour poorly spent. Okay?
Oh, come on.
And she's a cheerleader, so you know what the normal person would be. A lot of people think that we had a paper mill. My brother Dick and I went to Marquette University. When we came back, I had 2 uncles that were in the car business, Alan and Gifford Gibson, and I had the chance to work for both of them at different times. And wonderful, nice men. But we wanted to be in our own business. My brother Dick's first job was in a small bank on the road between Oshkosh and Nina that First Wisconsin had, and he was a loan officer there. But we decided we wanted to have our own business, do our own thing. So we started a bar. Obviously, that didn't make our mom and dad real happy after they just spent, between the two of us, 8 years getting us through Marquette University. And there were 79 bar liquor licenses in Nina and Menasha. So what right did we have to think we were going to be successful? We borrowed $30,000, bought an old post office building from the federal government at a sale, and put a bar in the basement of it called the old post office. I don't think there's anybody gray enough here to remember.
My parents actually told me this story about that place.
Maybe my friend, Mr. Williams. Anyway, but we started this little bar, and there were 7 of us. My brother Dick was always the money guy. In our whole business career, he was the guy in charge of our financial affairs. And the lady that ran the coat check, her name was Bonnie Brandt, and she's my secretary today, 47 years later. And she works 6 days a week, comes to work at 6:30, goes home about 5. And she has just been a wonderful business partner all through this whole thing. Ironically, my brother Dick's secretary, Lisa Newman, was starting with us when we first started, and he has Lisa Newman still working with him 47 years later. Now, my brother Dick, bless you, my brother Dick, about 6 or 8 years ago, decided that he'd spend more time playing golf and having fun. So, and he rightly deserves it. I wear on people over time. But he's been a terrific partner. And but those 4, and then a fellow named Pat Rohr, Rich Batley, who we all know down the streets, involved in the hotel. He was there, and Jeff Engelbert, who ran our Enterprise Motor Cars business for a long time, ran the Pioneer for a long time, was there. So these same people are still very important in our lives from when we first started. And our whole business model. Now, I took out a liquor license. At that point, I'd never had a drink in my life. To this day, I've never had a drink in my life. I've never had a cigarette. I drive too fast. But other than that, I kind of behave myself most of the time. And why did we think we could do this? And we knew that if we made people feel like we cared about them, they'd come back. And I had this philosophy that if we called them by name, which I know now, proven to me, is critically important, know them by their first name, call them by their first name, and show we care about them, that they'll come back. So our little group, we played this game, and when someone walked down the stairs, the first time we asked them what their name was, what they wanted to drink. Almost everybody drank Bud Light or brandy and Coke. And it sounds crazy, but that's really what we sold most of. These kids would come down the steps, and we'd call them by name and say, Pat, it's really nice to see you. Slide a Bud Light down the bar. He'd sit at the bar. We had a lot of loud music and bright lights and a dance floor, all of that stuff. But what seemed to happen is Pat would come down after work and just have a quick beer. Then he'd bring his pal Bill, and we'd know their names. And within about a week or 10 days, we had about 20 people coming after work every day. Call them by name. We got to be a little family. And then Friday night, we'd pass out cheese on a tray. Sounds silly, but we did that. And Friday nights were booming. Any new bar goes pretty well for most people in the bar business. You burn hot for a while. But the third week, we opened on August 16th, 1974. On September 21st, that Friday night, the fire marshal came in at 9 o'clock, found me, said, turn the lights all on, turn the music off, get everybody out of here. And I'm thinking, what did I do wrong? And he said, you violated your occupancy permit. And so I'm irritated because if you're in the bar business, Friday night you got to have. If he's going to arrest you, you ought to do it on Tuesday, where it isn't a problem. So we're all out in the parking lot at 137 South Commercial Street, the old post office building. And he writes me a ticket for $81 and tells me how terrible I was. And it said that I had 174 people in our bar that they counted and an occupancy permit for 65. So it wasn't exactly a marginal infringement, it was, and I was disappointed, frustrated, embarrassed, all that stuff. And we had a newspaper at that time called the Twin City News Record, came out on Wednesday. My mom was mortified. Here we are on the front page being arrested for flagrantly violating all these rules and paying this fine. And I hadn't called her and told her about it prematurely. So and then all her girlfriends are calling her, what are your kids doing? And I was really frustrated. But it was the best advertising in the world. Because Thursday night, you couldn't even park around our place. And we were bonkers. So in our first year, we thought we were rich. We made $65,000. The only thing we really knew that was made us different is we wanted to build a relationship with people. And through our business, we do that today. And call them by name. Their name is the most important thing. Look at them in the eye. Have them be the only person you're paying attention to. And try and remember something about them, which plays to this camp of he likes a Bud Light or whatever he wants to drink. So for anyone that's saying, how'd we start or whatever, we did have $18,000 when we started, which was the pooling that Richard and I have when we started. And there are days in the middle of this we went back to pretty much $18,000. There were some lumps and valleys in our business career, but at the moment it's going pretty well. So maybe I'm in a position where I can help somebody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, do you remember or can you recall any times that things didn't go so well in just kind of your business career, a challenge that you had noticed and a lesson that you kind of pulled from that?
Yeah, for sure. What is a lesson that we learned about tough times? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. General Motors, the largest industrial company in the world, went bankrupt, and they were our partner. We had 6 Saturn stores, 4 Hummer stores, a Pontiac store, and an Oldsmobile store, and they closed them all in 48 hours. And I had a mortgage on every one of them. And more importantly than that, we had employees that trusted me, teammates that I was responsible for. It was really, really tough. Within about 48 hours, we had a significant major bank, that name will go undisclosed, gave me a legal document saying I was in default of my covenant on my loan and I had to pay up within 30 days. And the covenant was that we would have a franchise in that building that they lent us the money to. Well, the bankruptcy took the franchise away of General Motors, so I was in trouble, big trouble. Now, we never had a lot of money. To this day, I don't know how you define a lot of money, but having a lot of cash is not part of who we are. We're about grow, do our part. So I called another bank friend of mine who had helped me, and happened to be J.P. Morgan Chase, and called him and said, this is a mess I'm in. I've got all these mortgages. I got all these employees. Our business is okay, but General Motors bankruptcy's really put us in a pickle. He said, if I were you, I would just make interest-only payments on time for everything that you need to do. And here is where a really important thing was. He said, and if you run a little short on cash, give me a call. I didn't make that call, but to get that affirmation that things were going to be okay. And what he kind of said is the banks are going to have a hell of a lot more problems than you. And if you just keep them so you don't go on their past due list, they're not going to find you. And I went into a mode of kind of being cheerleader for our team. We're going to figure out a way, don't worry about it. But I don't remember how many employees we had then, but let's say 500, and 400 of them had a mortgage and kids and orthodontics bills and all that stuff. And their check had to be good. You had to figure that out. And so you had to be a cheerleader, keep everybody revved, because they were scared. We were all scared. But I started, and my brother, God bless him, because he hung in there with me, we went and bought dealerships that closed because we were in an economic recession. And we bought them without money. We took over the loans that they had. And I bought 7 dealerships in 3 weeks, all in the valley, and moved our people from the closed stores to those stores. And without a lot of money, frankly. But banks were looking for somebody that was creditworthy, and we had always paid our bills. So I got a little edgy, but everybody had a job. And when the smoke cleared, we did okay.
Yeah.
But it was really, really tough. I remember laying down, and I was more awake when I laid down than when I was up, because you just really have all these people you care about. If we had more time, I could tell you stories that just really lights your fire of the responsibility of a leader, of a boss. But regardless, we made it through that. And We've had a number of challenges, frankly, as you go through it. COVID's been hard. A year ago, they stopped shipping us cars with chips in September, so now we're into 15 months or something. That's hard. But you change, and you have to change whatever the business environment is. So we started buying used cars, selling used cars, fixing used cars, and we're doing fine. We're paying our bills. And when they get chips and we have more new cars, we're going to be just fine. So it's a lot easier when I'm at this age than before, because before I was thinking the end of the world was here. Now I realize the world's got some lumps and there's a way to get through it. And I try to tell young people, don't quit. Really, really an important lesson. Because the places we're buying are all people that threw in the towel. And if you just keep your head straight, stand tall, act like you know what you're doing, be nice to people, more often than not, you're going to be just fine.
Sure. So you talked a little bit about kind of your early business, which was the post office bar. When did the auto business kind of start for you?
Well, because it's Oshkosh, I'm going to take you on a tributary here.
Sure.
Okay. There was a hotel in Neenah that was built by a banker that was trying to be nice to the community. He didn't know anything about hotelier, and it went bankrupt. And we bought that at the bankruptcy sale, sold the bar to get the equity piece for the hotel. Went to the banks and said, there are 3 banks in Neenah. They each took a third of the mortgage, and we had a hotel. Kind of a goodwill thing that they helped us. And we turned that into a rockin' little place. And then Pioneer got in money trouble. And I don't remember the years exactly, but if I thought about it, it would be mid-'70s, something like that. So we bought that at a bankruptcy sale, or the day before the bankruptcy sale, effectively. And we got the lender in both situations, the Pioneer itself and the equity piece of the Pioneer, to lend us the money to buy it. So you didn't have to have money. You just had an operating model that would work right away because you're going to have a payment in 30 days. So we worked hard. The Pioneer was a good business. It was a beautiful place for those that remember it. We worked together. And I can remember we made $1 million one year. I thought we were rich. But Richard had walked in my office and said, we might have made $1 million in these hotels, but you spent $1 million on furniture and drapes and repairs and all that stuff. So guess what? You're back to zero again. And about the third year he told me that, I kind of got the message. But so the hotel business helped us because there was no General Motors dealer in Neenah. We wanted to be a dealer. I wrote General Motors, and they turned me down repeatedly. You have to have a certain amount of cash to get a franchise for a dealership because the manufacturer wants to know they're going to get paid for their cars. It's very single-focused. Not that it's bad, but it's very single-focused. Finally, they gave us permission, and a friend of mine from Appleton gave us a line of credit to run our business, the car business, and Gus Zilke from Valley Bank, wonderful guy. He made loans based on the person rather than the balance sheet. And so he gave us a loan for the operating business. General Motors gave us the money for our floor plan to buy our cars, and then the local Butler dealer building, Oscar Bolt leaned on them, and they built a 12,000 square foot building for us on Green Bay Road in Neenah, where we are today. And that's how we got in the car business. And the car business has been really good to us. We've worked really hard. It's a tough business, but it's been really good. And it all goes back to that bar, where if you're really good to people, if you take care of them, you know their name, stop thinking about yourself as a business owner and think about how you can help them with their problem. They're going to come back time and time. And they turn into your cheerleading squad. You know, they say, you can't believe what those guys did. And little by little, we grew that into a pretty good business. We have about, 30 or 35 dealerships. It sounds frivolous, but it isn't that I can't count. It's just, how do you define a dealership? We represent every brand sold in the U.S. except for the boutiques. And we're in the top 50 dealerships in the country out of 18,000 in the United States. So I think independently, if you measured it, you'd say we're doing okay. But I don't think that's what we're most proud of or what we did best at. I think what we have done and what I'm most proud of is from that first year in our bar business, we made $65,000, give or take. And we made a decision, and we've kept it ever since, that 25% of our pre-tax profits we're going to give back to the community we work in. And that sounds goody-goody two-shoes, and the bankers don't like it, the auditors don't like it, nobody likes it except for the Boys and Girls Club, or Make-A-Wish, or the Catholic school system, or the Lutheran school system, or the United Way. And we've been able to make a difference there. But I think it also is good business. I don't do it because it's good business, but if you're helpful to the community that's having a tough time, that community is a better place, and those are the same people that are going to turn around and buy cars from you. So I kind of go around with that story, not to say, yippee, we're good. That's not the point at all. The point is, I think, when you have a business that's running okay, you have a responsibility to make a difference and give back. I have tremendous respect for teachers. We have a daughter that's a teacher. And we have 9 grandchildren. So I go to soccer games and basketball games and tennis matches and baseball games and swimming things and all that stuff. And all those volunteer parents that are coaching, spending night after night with those kids, you just think, what cool people, and really make a huge difference. And if I get really frustrated, and when you're wired like I am, the chance to get frustrated is pretty good. And I've spent the last 25 or 30 years working with my son, Tim, and he does a great job. And we get along great, and we talk 2 or 3 times a day. But when I'm pretty well wired, we'll go over to the Boys and Girls Club in Menasha and throw the football around the gym. And the kids start playing with you. We pick teams. I'm kind of a competitive guy. I want to win. Tim wants to win. But one day that I won't forget is, and I get kind of emotional about this stuff because it just makes an impression that you can't ever forget. We pick teams, and you got girls and boys, and they're 10 to 14 years old, and so I've got my 5 or 6 or 7, and he's got his 5 or 6 or 7. We're both the quarterback. We have receivers and a hiker in the gym. I don't have one kid on my team that can catch when we start 12:15 on a Thursday noon. I mean, you just think, where do you find these kids, And Tim's got one little redheaded gal that's really good, and they're quick at our butt, So 10 to 1, we're walking out the car in the parking lot. And it was fun, and your mind gets on to better things than what I was worried about. And I said, how could I ever pick 7 kids and not have one that can catch? And he said, Dad, those are 7 kids that didn't have a dad at home. You get in the car, and it's pretty quiet. And that's true. We have 1,200 kids in our Boys and Girls Club in Menasha, 1,400 in Appleton. And I'll tell you, our payroll is critically important to me, that we make it and we cover everybody's check. Beyond that, if those 2 institutions need help, we're going to be there. And every now and then somebody will give me some kind of guess about why I do it, or who do I think I am, or I should be more careful, or I should have less debt and pay banks back or whatever. I said, to myself, I look in the mirror, I kind of like it that way.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think any of you would regret it. And there's a lot of different ways to do it. You don't have to write a check. We're fortunate we can. In some ways that's easy, but just mentoring a kid that's having a tough time. I'm here with Chuck today a little bit. But I spent a day with Chuck where he's mentoring a kid. I mean, that kid needed somebody to care about him. And that kid was yes, sir, no, sir, and please and thank you. And that's what he needs. I see it all over. If you ever want to meet a neat person, find Greg Lemke or Sean. Hangs around on Badger Avenue in Appleton at that Boys and Girls Club. He'll put his feet on the desk and talk to you about what's important in life and where he's coming from. And I think unto myself, he's got 25,000 kids that he's taking care of. There's a guy that's done a good job. Good stuff. So,
well, a little bit about, so you kind of talked about 2, I think, important principles in the way that you do business, which is number 1, that emphasis on people, being very present with them, really focusing on individuals. The second is kind of that, philanthropic kind of activity or the charity that you kind of install, what are some other kind of tenets that you would say are essential to the success of a business?
Philanthropy sounds like a wealthy old rich man. Okay, I don't want to be there. Okay.
Sure.
I go to work every day. I figure out where we are or what we need to do to get that month, and I have to get that month to work. So philanthropy doesn't apply. Do we give back? Yeah, we do. So I like that, but I want to clear that up.
Sure.
Another part of this thing is no leader can do it himself. So if I'm trying to help people, one of the lessons I learned is pick good people, pick the right people. Not that they're bad people, but pick people that have the same feelings that you do. I have a young man named Logan Knudsen that works with me every day. And I was sitting in my office one day, and Tom Brown runs in. He's worked with me a long time, 30, 40 years. He said, "We got to hire this guy, boss." I said, "Browner, I got to finish this." He says, "Forget that. Come on." So he grabs me. I throw my coat on. We go down to a hamburger stand 4 blocks away, and there's a waiter, kid, bald head, big earring. Don't want to offend anybody, but I'm not a big fan with guys with earrings. And I'm, just to get everybody mad at me, universally, I'm not a big fan of girls with 2 pairs of earrings, or 3 or 4. Girls have 1 pair, guys have none. But anyway, he's got this big earring, So we're going to have pancakes and sausage at 9:30 in the morning, and he's taking our offer. And he's writing it very intently with his pencil. And then he looked at me and he said, "Is there anything else you like?" I said, "No, I think I'm fine. A glass of orange juice, some sausage, and an egg or whatever." And he said, "Well, my name's Logan. You just call my name. I'll come help you, anything you need." So Browner across the table from me says, "What are you waiting for? Hire that kid." And I said, "I like this kid, but at least let me eat my breakfast." When we left, we paid our bill for $15 or whatever it was, and I said, "If you get some time after work today, I'd really like to get to know you better." So he bangs on my door at 3 o'clock. And at 4 o'clock, he says, "I have to go. I got to go take care of my sister and brother." I said, "I just want to talk to you a little bit." And he says, "No, I'm sorry. I got to do this." And I said, "Well, can I give you a ride?" Because that's how I got to know him a little. He walked to my office. He said, "No, I'm fine." I said, "No, come on, get in the car." So we go over towards Nina Foundry. It's in a house that's probably 30 feet square, 2 level. And he gets out and says, "Thanks a lot, Mr. Bergstrom. Hope I see you again." I'm thinking to myself, you are going to see me again. I found out later his mom walked out on him. His dad worked at the foundry. He had a brother and sister that were younger. He quit school to take care of them. And he found this job waiting on tables so he could make some money to make sure that they had food at home. I'll go anywhere with that kid. And if you can collect people that care and really understand what life is about, anybody that says "I" too much, you're wasting your time. Get into somebody that, how can I help, or what can I make a difference, or there's a tough situation. I don't go, and most of you people don't go 24 hours without somebody asking you for a job, they got a car problem, or they need a loan. That's just part of life, And it's, I don't see anything wrong with that. It's a little bit of who I am or where I am. And I can't do everything for everybody. And so you kind of pick the ones that are most important that you're going to take care of. But in these, you find a whole bunch of people, and a lot of them are really good people that have just had a tough time. And if they start talking about their mom or their church or caring about their kids before they start talking about themselves, it's a great start. It really is. I don't know anybody on the planet that doesn't have a problem today. And some of them are really, really tough. Probably most of the people here have a really tough program going on. And so if somehow or other you can find the people that care about others, that will work hard, do their part, and have their focus outside of me first, you're in a good place. And you end up collecting people. We have 1,700 people on our payroll today. Any one of them knows my cell phone number, and I can't help everyone's everyday problem, but most of them know I really care, the ones that have been with us a period of time. If they've got a problem, they're going to call me, and they do. And I'm proud to be their partner.
How do you build an organization around that? I mean, you mentioned you yourself try to lead by example. You try to surround yourself with leaders that care about others. How do you get an entire company of 1,700 people or more to follow that same kind of, ethic, if you will?
First off, you got to live it yourself. And I get off track now and then and have to come back. But yesterday, I drive a Tahoe in the winter. Don't like driving a Tahoe. It's no fun, but it's a good car. It gets me there in winter. But I get out of the car and I pick up a McDonald's cup in the driveway of the Nina Chevrolet dealership. Throw it in the back seat of my car. Drive in, park my car, go into work. I don't even think about it. It's kind of second nature to me. And I had a fellow come over to us that was relatively new. I think he's worked for us for a month or something. And he said, I can't get over that you'd pick up that cup. So he noticed. I certainly didn't wave it or anything, but he noticed I did it. And I said to this young man, I said, well, if I can't, how can I expect anybody else to? And I do expect all 1,700 of us to have our places look good and feel good and be right. And you got to build a culture of caring. I can't tell you how many funerals I go to, the doctors at Theta Care, they think I work there. But if you go in and sit on the bed of some kid having a tough time that had a motorcycle accident, or somebody that's going through dialysis or the different things, I'm not trying to be a good guy. I'm just trying to be their partner. And it goes a long way. I got really sick 5 years ago. They thought I was toast and I wasn't ready to go. And I was blessed and had good doctors and stuff and got through it. I can't tell you how much support I got from that team. Just the same stuff I did for them, they were doing back. Amazing people. So you got to be careful who you hire.
Yeah. What do you think? You talk a lot about kind of the culture you're building, the emphasis on caring for other people. If we pivoted to more of a technical discussion on business, a lot of things we notice that folks struggle with is where to allocate resources, where to kind of pull the levers of a tight budget. And you had mentioned you've gone through some situations in your business career where that was a serious thing. Where do you kind of advise people to kind of evaluate where they should invest their money or how they should go about thinking of that?
I went to business school. I heard all that. It didn't seem to apply to me. I'm a risk taker. I look at a business. I had some wonderful mentors in my life, and I want to have profit center earnings. Darwin Smith ran Kimberly-Clark for 40 years. Tremendous. His whole deal was profit center earnings. If we make 17% on what we sell, that's a business we'll invest in. And if we can't make 17%, we won't. Profit center earnings. He looked at his cost of money at 7%, operating at 10%. So very simplistic. So when I look at a business, I look at not what it's doing, and we've never bought a business that's booming. We always buy business that are having a tough time because booming, they're too much money. It costs too much. So, but if you can buy a business that's having a tough time and it has potential, I'm not magical or anything like that. I just look at it as, do I have a chance at profit center earnings? You pay for that in 66 months if it does that in 17%. It's very simplistic, but I've bought businesses that don't work. I've bought businesses too fast, and people that are close to me think maybe that is a flaw that I have. Maybe it is. I bought the Lexus dealership out on Highway 41 in Oshkosh. I went to that also was for sale at a bankruptcy, and I bought that without any plan to buy it. And at that time, it seemed like a lot of money, but it seemed like a terrific bargain to me because I'm playing. If I can put $300,000 in, if I can borrow 2.7, which I can leverage, I try to leverage at that level, and get a return on the $300,000, I need about $45,000 to do that. And I'm playing with my envelope. I think this thing is going to get me $250,000. So I'm raising my hand bidding on this. Everybody looks at me like, who's this dummy, Then I called my brother, and he wanted to bury me. Are you kidding me? We just spent $3,100,000 buying a Lexus dealership, but you didn't even know that you were going to the sale? Yeah, that's kind of what happened, But it worked out pretty slick. And I can also tell you that I've done some of those that look good that don't. So you got to make sure you don't make your mistakes too close together.
Yeah.
But I think making it too complex is a problem. You got to work hard too. I go to work every morning at 6:45. I go home I used to go home at 8:30. Now I go home about 6:30. And I work Saturday till about 2 o'clock. And I try to be the first one to turn the lights on wherever I am. And it's just a signal. It just says to people, hey, I'm not asking them to work if I'm not going to work. And then none of us work too hard. I got to we'll put in a lot of time, we'll focus, but as far as grinding yourself up, that's not what we're about. I love to buy a bag of donuts and walk around the dealership on Saturday morning and just sit with the people and say, I really appreciate what you're doing, or what are you up to, or how's your dog, or all that stuff. Because then you're part of a team that's going to get it done.
Yeah. What do you, I guess, where do you see kind of the future of, Oshkosh, we're here, what's kind of the future what's the next business problem that you think needs to kind of be solved going forward? As kind of a visionary like you looking out to the future, what's next?
Well, you made me a philanthropist and a visionary. I don't think I'm either. Okay, I would look for opportunities, look for something that people need, that they're going to repeat and do over and over and over again. And get in that business where you can provide service. I don't think any business is a product business. I think it's all about service. Everybody can make the same product, same price, figure out a way to make it orange so it's pretty instead of blue, But if you give great service, if you get in your car and deliver that to a customer, something that he needs. We had a fellow from Oshkosh, incidentally, come to me and want to borrow money 15 years ago to make springs. Maybe some of you know this. I don't remember the spring company. It was on Jackson. But he had a limp, and he had a gleam in his eye. He said, if you'd help me get the money to make springs, we could really be successful, and we'll be partners. And I said, well, I don't do that. I only get involved in businesses that I'm involved in and know. And he convinced me that I should think about it, a little bit of a guilt trip thing. So I sent him over to see my brother, and Dick called me on that Monday, and he said, I know this is nuts, but I think we ought to give this guy the money to buy his spring machine. We can probably buy this thing for $16,000. It was $80,000 that he wanted. So we must have put 20% in. Then we financed the rest, and his payments paid for it. And he started Fox Valley Spring Company. And the way he got us is he said, I'm going to hire handicapped people before people that aren't handicapped. If I have a chance, I'm going to always hire him. So that's where he got us cooking. And it's very real, very sincere. Russ, what's his name? Russ Stang is the guy. Impressive as hell. So he's working it out, and like these businesses, they have a hard time get going. And he called me one day, and he said, we just had a really good order come in. And I said, great. He said, it'll take us a month, and things are going to be pretty good. So it was just an update. And so I said, Russ, how'd you get that order? And he kind of ho-hummed. I said, no, I want to hear. He said, I answered my phone two Saturday afternoons ago, and it was a Daisy Air Rifle Company from Springfield, Missouri. And they needed a spring for some little BB gun thing that they couldn't get from their provider. And we talked about it, and he said, I can make that spring for you. And the guy said, our plant is going to shut down on Tuesday if we don't have springs. And he said, how many springs do you need? And they agreed, and they were $1 a piece or some silly thing. He made them. He got his people going. He got in his car Monday night and drove a carload of springs to Springfield, Missouri, to the Daisy Air Rifle Company. And they had them forever. And it was the craziest place. You walked into his business. Now it's at the Appleton Airport at the end of the runway on the north end. He's got about 50 people on all these computerized spring machines and all that. they're the most unusual looking group of people you ever saw in your life. And I mean that in a very complimentary way. But they're proud as hell. And you just look at the tremendous opportunities that are out there. You just got to find something that somebody needs and they'll pay for. And then if you can give them great service, you're going to win. Because there's a lot of people that can sell Daisy air rifle springs, but not get them there in time for them to keep their plant going on Tuesday. That's the stuff you got to find. Yeah, I like to go to Leon's. Sounds silly, okay? But I like to. And all my adult life, I've gone to Leon's and get a juice burger. And then hot fudge sundae with pecans. And anyway, I can't remember when I didn't go there. So I'm there last Saturday night with my dog. Two of us are having a big night out, okay? My wife is sitting in the right side of the seat, think I'm freaking crazy to take her to Leon's, Big date night with John. And we're laughing. We both kind of enjoy it. And there's a sign, 75 years we've been in business. And the little girl comes up. She said, is this cash or charge? And $8 or something like that. And I said, whatever's easiest for you. She said, whatever you want, it's good with me. Big shit-ass grin on her face, I get Leon's sandwich greasy all over the place, and I get my hot fudge sundae, and Diane does. They found a place. They found a niche. I have no idea what it costs. I don't know what it would cost somewhere else. I probably drove past 10 other ice cream stores or fast food stores to go to Leon's on Saturday night. Now, I don't know the history of the people or whatever, but it works if you do a good job. There's an unending supply of those things. Archie's Dairy Queen in Neenah makes popcorn. The only Dairy Queen you've ever been into that makes popcorn. And Archie trains all these kids to come to work at the appropriate time, to be clean, haircut, not have any earrings if they're boys, all that stuff, big smile on their face. And so I love to do business with them because I think they're doing all these young kids a tremendous favor. And they're getting them ready for the rest of our work environment when they get out of school. So I'm involved in a bank board. This is probably out of school, and I shouldn't, but whatever. Let me tell you, that's a really good business, selling ice cream and popcorn. And so here he's helping these kids learn discipline, respect, do it right, giving a service at the window. And it's right there in front of anybody. You could do it right across the street if you figured out a way to do something there. It isn't that hard, I make it sound easy, and I'm not trying to be flippant, but I think there's tremendous opportunities. I can never remember a time in American business. Now, the whole war thing overshadows a lot right now, and I'm sorry about that. But take that out of the picture. I don't ever remember a time where there was more opportunities for a young person. I had a kid come to me and he said, I don't want to work in your car business. I want to work by myself. But I need a job and I want to work. And I said, well, you got to work with people. That's how it goes. He said, no, I don't want to work with people. I found out later why, but anyway, he wanted to be by himself. So I said, why don't you start a lawn cutting business and go to Wisconsin Avenue and ring the doorbell. Try to figure out how many hours it'll take you to do it. Charge them $12 an hour to cut their grass. Tell them whatever day you'll do it every week. And you pay half for the lawnmower, I'll pay half, and I'll lend you your half. So it took him a while to figure out I was buying him a lawnmower. But today, he's got 8 kids working for him. He's got a great little business, and the truck that pulls his trailer is paid for. Now, I mean, it isn't. We don't have to make it that hard. So, I don't mean to be flippant, but I think today in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, there are 200 people that want their grass cut and will pay you to do it. All you got to do is knock on their door and offer to do it. That can be a boy or a girl. It can be a 12-year-old or a 25-year-old or a 75-year-old. That's another one that I cheat on. You can't tell John Hogarty, our attorney or HR people, I really don't care how old kids are when they come and want to work for us. As long as they want to work, they clean up and do a good job. If they're not whatever age they need to be, I'll give them a broom or a lawnmower or something. I think you got to give them a chance. But all of the rules kind of screwy. Every now and then somebody tells me what I can't do. That's really upsetting because there is a way if you really want to.
Sure.
Okay. What else?
Well, I think we got a few minutes first for some questions here, folks in the audience. Elle will get you a microphone. If you could save your question for the mic and ask Mr. Bergstrom. And see if we have a couple minutes. Do we have any takers? Anybody? Yeah. Mr. Iki over here. Yeah.
I was actually at the old post office, and it was.
You're pretty good for the where you've gone through since then. You and I.
Pardon?
You look pretty good.
No, I had a couple of bars of my own, so.
Perfect.
I had. But in any event, I was in there, and there was certainly far more than 65 people. And how'd you get on the other side of that?
What was the question?
I think he's asking how you got around the 65 people
We
rule
knocked
for so
the wall
long.
out. We moved up. First, we moved to. I got to get the directions right. To the north, we took that wall out, and then we moved upstairs and knocked a stairwell in. When we got done, we had an occupancy permit of 300 people.
Okay, I know there was at least 70 people.
Yeah, it was a rocking place.
Probably violated that code, too, so.
Yeah, well, don't tell anybody. Keep it a secret, and don't tell my mom. You know. Okay.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Bergstrom. My name is Robbie Cordo. I'm a transplant from the Twin Cities to Oshkosh
Nice to
4
meet
months
you.
ago. Thank you. I really appreciate your comments. I had the opportunity to work for a fantastic company in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin called Cray Research for 12 years. Met some really brilliant people and learned a lot along the way. And I've come to admire people who have been able to work their butts off in business like yourself and your family. And what I learned from the folks at Cray is that there are things that keep them up at night. They worry about, even though they're incredibly successful. I was wondering, what's the biggest challenge you've faced in your years in business?
Okay. That's a really good question, a thoughtful question. I can tell you one of the biggest business problems I've had my whole life, I had in the last 18 months, 24 months. I look at the people that work with me as my kids or my grandkids. And we have a video on Monday morning where we talk to everybody. What's going on in our business, where we're going, what are we doing, communicating. And Pfizer, and I happen to know the CEO of Pfizer, he's on the Kimberly-Clark board with me, had just gotten a vaccine approved. His name is Ian Reid. He's a Scotchman, obviously U.S., but Jesuit educated, came from Scotland, little short guy. But he said, we have the answer, but the key now is going to be to get people vaccinated. And I'm also in the football business on the side a little bit. I worked with the Packers for 30 years in the marketing side, not the hiring football players. So I'm in the nitty-gritty of this vaccination thing. So every Monday morning, I'm saying, please get vaccinated. And we, from day one, we paid for it, set it up at Theta Care. We have a clinic across the street on Green Bay Road. Our people could go in, go on the website, sign. And I was having trouble getting people to sign up. And it was irritating me immensely because I trusted them and I want them to trust me. And as a leader, I found out I was on too thin ice. It took a long time. For months, I would plead to people. And I had a very tough situation. I had a 16-year employee, 38 years old, work on Saturday and Labor Day weekend, and died the following Saturday with COVID. Perfectly healthy guy. He was as healthy as he is. And I got very emotional about it. I pushed real hard, and I got to 68 or 69%. Then I started getting pushback, first through HR and then through the managers saying, John, it's not your business to tell us to get vaccinated. And it was hard because I wouldn't back off. I was really hard on it. And if I had a particular person that I heard was openly talking about it, I'd go see them, get my car. And they would throw their wrench in their toolbox or turn around and say, it's none of your business. And it's a free country, and this is all politics and whatever. So I worked really, really hard on it. And then I got a call from John Hogarty, who's a trusted friend and our chief legal officer, says, John, you got to back off. You're telling people they're stupid, they don't think, they're risking everybody's lives, all that stuff. And it was really hard for me to change, to make that change and say, I've done everything I can. 3 out of 10 are not going to get vaccinated. Normally they're kids that went to the bar and they were all tough to each other, or people that didn't have a chance to read much, whatever. But that was a really, really hard time for me. And I learned a big lesson. I do ESI, engagement scores, to all our businesses every year. And we normally do very, very well. And I expected us to fall off a cliff and be awful. But just last week ago, Tuesday, we got our scores back. We had a lot of people go and say, thank you for caring. And because you had enough of the positive ones, it offset the negative ones, so it looked better than it was. But I got a bunch of people I got to win their trust back now because I pushed it. So I don't know if that applies, but it was tough, and I would lay awake at night. It's kind of funny. Normally, I don't have any trouble sleeping. I would say out of 1,000 days, 2 of them I might be. I just lay down. I don't even have to. In the airplane, I sit in the chair and go to sleep. It's crazy, but that was hard. I can tell you that I do my best thinking in the shower if you want to know an inner secret. So if anybody wants to know something nobody knows, now you know. Okay.
I think we got time for maybe one more question. And do we have anything else at all?
I guess knowing you from the Pioneer, it was such a
He
great
was my
place.
partner for a long time.
Yeah,
He ran the
yeah.
Marina and did a great job.
Yeah.
And his mom was amazing, the most talented, organized lady.
Thank you. She was.
Yeah, she really was something.
Miss her every day, but
Yeah,
but anyway.
I needed her too.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you ever had to do 230 boaters that all decided where they wanted to park when they wanted to,
Yeah.
she did a great job.
That was a challenge.
Yeah.
As far as the Pioneer site, do you have any thoughts on what should happen there in the future? Another resort, or?
It is the prettiest piece of property on the lake. There's no doubt about it. And it's a wonderful opportunity for somebody. The businesses that we're in, the automotive business, I've been able to leverage and keep growing it. But if I had a 22 or 5-year-old son or daughter that didn't want to be in the car business and wanted to do something, I'd try to buy that thing, try to do it on a lever. I'd try to get somebody to put the docks in. I'd open a world-class marina, and I'd charge what it costs to make money, and I'd have profits and earnings. It is just a spectacular opportunity. The challenge, I think, is that they've got a little bit of a stigma thing going with the DNR, and I think you could change that if you just got in your car and went and said, let's be partners, let's figure this out together. They would do that instead of fighting. Fighting with the DNR is stupid. That you don't live long enough to make that work. I actually like the DNR now. It took a while to get used to them, but I got it.
So your favorite Packer, did you talk one of them into coming back this year?
Well, okay, you said favorite, and he used to be one of my favorites, but we got crosswise with each other when he started being a mentor for kids saying don't get vaccinated, okay? Yeah, we had a really bad couple of weeks, but we've been friends since he came here. Yeah, and he's coming back. It's taken him a while. They've had a contract for a few days. But the problem is with him and with a lot of people, they are really, really good at what they're doing, really good. And trying to take that across the broader base is hard. He's an amazing man. He's brilliant. He's fun to talk to. He took a year of his life when he wasn't playing football and studied religions of the world. And very seriously. He'd get in a plane and fly to India. He'd go all over the world because he was in a very sincere quest to understand religion. that isn't what you look at as a normal football player. But a little fun story, a little out of school, but fun. We have a dog, it's a cross between a water spaniel and a Labrador and whatever, just kind of a screwy little dog, but we really like him. He's about 45 pounds. And I was at Aaron's house, and this dog was with me. Same dog we took to Leon's, incidentally. And the dog, Aaron started petting him in the driveway a little bit. And I said, you ought to get one of these. I was just being funny. And I didn't give it much thought. I said, what's really cool about a dog is they like you every day, no matter how good or bad things are. He still thinks you're pretty special. He looked at me and says, I need one of those. And he will admit he said that. And none of us thought about it at all. Logan was with me, and we all kind of laughed on the way back. So when things got really testy, I sent him an email, and I said, the offer's still there. I'll get your Ranger's brother and drop him in the driveway. And he said, right now my plate's too full, but I need someone that likes me every day. So that was, you get a little bit of an insight in him. But if he just stick to football, he'd be incredible. He is the best football player I've ever seen, without any doubt. And he's a really smart guy. He's just, anyway. So
hopefully he'll win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Next year.
We should. We should. We need a good day. Yeah.
I think just last question, anything, in particular you're working on or you'd like us to know about that we can support as a community in Oshkosh, or?
Well, I'm not very good at telling people what they should do, them what to do. I can tell you if I had a grandson or a granddaughter here, or son or daughter that hadn't been exposed to me, and if I was of any value to them, I would do a couple very basic things. One is I'd get up in the morning and say, what can I do to make somebody else's life a little better today? Can be an aunt that hasn't heard from you. Can be the neighbor that needs the sidewalk, whatever. But if you got up every morning and did that. And secondly, if you said to yourself, whatever I'm going to do today, I'm going to try and do a really good job at. Doesn't make a difference what it is, but I'm going to try and do it well. And then if you do have the privilege and the benefit of getting into a business, remember that all business is about service, and you want to build a repeat cycle. You're never going to make enough on one transaction to make it worthwhile. But if you build that relationship long-term by taking care of people, in almost any business, you'll be successful. How's that?
That was perfect.
All right.
Well, thank you so much,
job.
sir. We are up on time. Thank you again. And please join me in a round of applause for thanking Mr. Bergstrom.